Information shared on the following program is for general information purposes only. It does not constitute legal, tax, investment, or other advice, nor is it intended to recommend any particular investments, products, or financial instruments. Always seek advice from your financial advisor, attorney, or accountant with regard to investment, legal, or tax questions.
Welcome to the only show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money, the WorryFree Retirement, with your host, five-time author and fiduciary, the money missionary himself, Tony Walker.
Hello and welcome to the WorryFree Retirement. I am Tony Walker, your host for the next 28 minutes or so, and you're about to watch the only television show in the country dedicated to helping savers worry less about money. Speaking about savers and worried less about money, I was pleased to have a couple of workshops recently. By the way, we're recording the show one day after the eclipse, August 22nd, 2017. I'm not trying to get on the eclipse. That was a really cool event, but I'll have to say we were down in Bowling Green at the time, and I stayed over and then drove down after the eclipse. I had a workshop Monday night in Louisville, and it was cool. But I think if I had headed all the way down to like Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and gotten caught up in all the traffic coming back, apparently I think I'd been a little disappointed. So as soon as it was over, my wife and I, here's a picture of me and Susan staring up at the sun through $1.59 glasses. I don't know. I thought Americans were smarter than this, folks. There I am following the herd, as we like to say, but there we are looking up into the sun, but it was a cool event, I got to admit. The coolest event, part of the event, here's a picture of my wife sitting out in a lounge chair, is when all the lights, automatic lights came on, it got dark, but it was pretty cool stuff. But one of the things I try to do is when I say I'm going to report on something during next week's show or something, I usually do that. Well, I was watching last week's show on TV. I'll occasionally flip on the TV just to make sure they're running properly. And that was the show I was supposed to mention something about RMDs, required minimum distributions. I forgot to mention that, so I apologize. So real quickly, before we get into the beef of the show, last night at a workshop, here, this wasn't the exact workshop, but you can see we have a lot of workshops. Had a good attendance last night. Had probably Aaron's in here, America's favorite financial sidekick. Well, we have close to 60 at least, because I know we set up for 60. There weren't many seats left, and it came up again. Somebody started asking a lot of questions about required minimum distributions, and it just reminds me how confusing this subject is. I'm going to quote an article. This came out in June 19th of Investment News magazine. Mr. Ed Slott, who's a well-known CPA, someone I studied under years ago in Ed Slott's Elite IRA Advisor program, was in was the first group of advisors to go through his program years ago. Now he's going to share with us, we'll put these in the screen for you here, 4 ways to reduce RMDs, or required minimum distributions. Number 1, qualified charitable distributions. Some of you are already giving to charity. You're over 70 and a half, and you have to take a distribution out from your IRA or 401k. And you say, well, I don't want to pay taxes on it, but if I pay taxes on it, can't I gift it to charity? Well, it does have a deductible effect, possibly, but what you can do is just literally have it arranged to have the qualified distribution, or RMD, sent directly to the institution, charitable institution of your choice, and that way is immediately not included in income for other purposes. So it makes a lot of sense to consider that. Again, all of these we can help you with. Number 2, he mentions as an option to reduce qualified distributions, or RMDs, would be a qualified lifetime annuity. Some people call them QUALICs. And what that is, depending on the value of your IRA or 401k, or, by the way, 457 lump sum pension that becomes an IRA, all this stuff, again, at 70 and a half, you have to take money out. So in that example, you could give 25% up to 100 and I believe it's 25,000. We've never done one of these. It's an option. There's reasons I'm not a big fan of these, but nevertheless, you can do those, where you put the money aside out of the IRA. There's no taxes to currently do this, up to a maximum of $125,000 into an annuity. The annuity doesn't pay out till later in life, and that way you defer a lot of these taxes. So it is an option. Number 3, Mr. Slott mentions, is roll over to a company plan. In other words, if you are still working past 70 and a half, and your 401k there at your employer, you could take your IRA, roll it in, whether it's a former 401k or possibly an IRA, if they'll allow a roll in. While you're working, you don't have to take the distribution. So let's say you're still working past 70 and a half. We have people that do this, and you've got an IRA and you don't want to take any distributions. Well, you have to. So then the IRA income gets blopped on top of your 401k and everything else and your earnings, and it's kind of messy. So that's an option. And finally, Mr. Slott mentions a Roth conversion. Now, you cannot, let's say you're 70 and a half and your distribution required is $8,000. You can't take the $8,000 and convert that to a Roth. It has to be the amount above that. So that $8,000 you're still going to be taxed on. To me, the time to do Roth conversions is before 70 and a half. So that's another option. For me personally, there's other options we've got besides these, but these are 4 good ones from Mr. Slott. Incidentally, again, if you would like to meet in person to literally just discuss your retirement account and to go through a calculation for your RMD, how it works, how it fits in the game plan, be happy to do that. In fact, Heather in our Bowling Green office, we provide a free service. So if you would like to meet with me in person, then I'll take that information, we'll lay it out, I'll get that with Heather, and Heather provides that free service to all of our clients. So if we have clients that have RMD calculation needs, or we're doing planning on, we may not want to take all the RMD from one, but we might want to take it from another IRA. This comes up a lot. Again, if you're a client of Tony Walker Financial, we do all that absolutely free. So if you'd like to meet in person, go over your retirement accounts, talk about minimum distributions, regardless of whether you're 60 or 80, it doesn't matter. It's still a point of contention, and we can usually help reduce some taxes there. Go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and click on that Let's Get Started button. TonyWalkerFinancial.com, Let's Get Started button, and we can certainly do that right away. All right, back to the workshop last night. It was really interesting. I had several people talk to me before and after, and especially there was a comment that came up afterwards. A gentleman came up to me and he said, well, Tony, I was talking to one of your competitors the other day. They're searching around for an advisor, which is perfectly fine. I encourage that of everybody to do. But this is what it's interesting to me, that so many of my competitors seem to know more about what we do than we do. And in fact, it was funny. He said, yeah, this one fellow, when I told him I was thinking about talking to you, he said, oh, you don't want to work with him. All he does is annuities. And that could be nothing further from the truth. So what I thought I would do, because there are so many people in this retirement planning arena. I mean, when I first got started truly in retirement planning, it was after 9/11. And I was really one of the first even in the country that started holding myself out as a retirement planning specialist. So I'd used my previous degrees from the American College and the College for Financial Planning. I started to begin to train under Ed Slott as in the Elite RA Advisor Program. I'd been through LEAP studies. I'd literally started reading on and on and on about this whole concept of what do people do, especially if they're savers. Remember, this show is dedicated to savers, not investors or speculators. But when savers get to this point of really retiring. And the reason I talk so much about my granddad, here's a picture of him in the old Bell South office. We talked about him last night at the workshop, was because he didn't need a retirement planning specialist. He had his pension and Social Security or his mailbox money. You're not privy to all that, more than likely. You need help from somebody who understands taxes, who understands how to reduce fees, understands different insurance contracts and annuities and estate planning, all that stuff I've done for years. Incidentally, speaking of Granddad's mailbox money, order this new booklet. I am so proud of this little booklet. It's called Mailbox Money for Life. Go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Be sure to fill out all the information. We'll drop you a copy of this book, and then let's get started. It's a great little booklet, and it gives the history of mailbox money and how you too, through our proprietary process we're going to talk about, can show you how mailbox money can help you not go broke in retirement, which is an important facet of retirement planning. So here's what we're going to do. I've made sure Aaron leaves me plenty of time in this second segment, because when we go back, I'm going to go to this whiteboard back here and we're going to lay out for you not only what a retirement planning specialist does, but what we at Tony Walker Financial do to try to dispel some of the misconceptions out there among some of our competitors who really don't have a clue what we do. So when I come back, if you've ever wanted to know, okay, Tony, what does a retirement planning specialist do, and what does your operation do, and how can you help me be worry-free? I'm Tony Walker. I'm going to get the whiteboard out here and start making some notes, so I'll be right back in 60 seconds. Because of recent government regulations, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce predicts that over 7 million smaller investors may no longer receive the personal service from their advisor that they are accustomed to. I'm fiduciary Tony Walker, and regardless of whether you have $5,000 or $5 million to invest, we are here to serve you. In fact, let's meet soon to talk about our newest investment program utilizing Charles Schwab as your custodian. There is no minimum account size to work with us. Log on now to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Feel like the financial world is making more money on your money than you are? Tired of working hard to save money only to get 1% in return? Well, I'm Tony Walker, inviting you to meet with me in person to create a safe and simple game plan that includes mailbox money for life. To schedule your no-obligation appointment with me, simply log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. While there, just click on the Let's Get Started button and we'll make that happen at your convenience. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com, and I'll look forward to seeing you soon. Let's step out and get me another cup of coffee here. Been an early morning here in Louisville, Kentucky at our studios. Aaron's doing a great job producing the show and didn't realize I went pretty long in that first segment. So let's jump right into this. What we're talking about, in case you're just now joining us, is what is a retirement specialist and what are the different things that a retirement specialist is supposed to do. And I can't speak for other people, but I'll tell you what we do. Again, let's start with products, and I've made some notes here because there's a lot to cover. I'm going to kind of fly through this. So we have annuities. Obviously, we do a ton of annuities. We do fixed annuity, and we do indexed annuities, okay? One of the first people in the country that publicly started talking about these products, fixed indexed annuities. Been on TV for over 20 years, been in the Louisville market, Kentucky market, and again, one of the first advisors in the country that basically started talking about the pros and cons of indexed annuities right after 9/11. Why did I start using those after 9/11? Because the money management practice I had, again, they'd just flown into the Twin Towers, remember that, the market had crashed, and I realized my clients needed some sort of guaranteed income, or what I like to call mailbox money. The other thing we do is life insurance, okay? Now this is actually one of my first products that I ever learned to work with back in 1984. Is life insurance. We do all sorts of life insurance, but mainly what I call permanent life insurance or overfunded life insurance. My feelings on that is everybody's going to die, so why wouldn't we want all of our money back? So we don't do term insurance, although it has its place, but that's not what we do out of our office. In some cases, we do provide, in some cases, long-term care insurance, okay? So a lot of people, you know, it is expensive, but sometimes that's one of the best medicines is long-term care insurance. And a lot of times we can show you where to find the money, whether it's fees we can save you and other things, insurance premiums, taxes, and use that money that you were wasting to purchase the protection. We can do that. And finally, here's the biggie. I'm a registered investment advisor. We do stocks. We do mutual funds. We do ETFs. And bond funds, okay? This is what somebody told somebody the other day. All he does is annuities. Folks, I've been licensed to sell securities since 1985, okay? We've been doing these a long time. We just haven't made it public. And since we work with savers, this is not our lead dog. So most of our clients only have about 15 to 20% in the market. So it's always interesting. I'll have a buddy of mine, maybe we're playing golf, and he'll say, well, what about that stock market? How's that affecting you all? I say, very little. And they're like, what do you mean? See, a lot of people assume that's all we do is stocks and mutual funds. So again, we do those. I'm registered as an investment advisor. I use Charles Schwab's platform because the fees are so low. But again, that's not our main bailiwick, but we do that, okay? Now here's the key. That's all good. Those are all products, and most advisors to an extent offer similar products, all right? Incidentally, we have a new worksheet that we've created, and we go through as a fiduciary all the different annuity products, talking about a booger, but we do that for people before we select an annuity. That's another thing. Ask people to see that sheet. So if somebody says to you, well, yeah, I recommend this annuity, ask them to show you how they came up with that annuity, and we will show you how we arrived at that conclusion. Now the process, I'll abbreviate. It literally has a name, and it's trademarked, circle R. It's called the WorryFree Retirement. Now this is really a process. If you were to come to my office, and some people, other advisors throughout the country will come to check out our office just to see how we do things, they'll see that everything we do, there's a method to our madness, not only when we're meeting with clients, not only when we're reviewing current plans with clients, prospective clients, but also how everybody in the office operates. I mean, I have a staff, the operational office is in Bowling Green, Kentucky. We meet with people there and in Louisville, of course, but the staff there in Bowling Green does everything in a coordinated manner. Now, why is that so important? Well, because when you need service questions answered, when you need distributions, when you have tax questions, you need to know who to call. And all of our people are properly trained in that. So I'm very, very proud of the WorryFree Retirement. And it's a 5-step process, okay? 5 steps. And we go through this. I'm not going to belabor the point here, but we do everything the same way over and over and over. That way the client gets used to knowing how we work and how we're going to help them make decisions long into retirement. The other thing about our process, it has to be easy to understand. All right? So one of the things I've learned in 33 years of doing this, the longer I'm in this business, the more of a challenge it is. I'm not trying to create complicated plans. I'm trying to create easy plans. So as you'll see in a minute, that's why I spent a lot of money on some proprietary software, because it's easy for the client or saver to understand. And then finally, this process will endure long after Tony. Every workshop, a gentleman brought it up last night, Tony, what happens if something happens to you? The process is already set in place. You get a game plan. You get a binder that's easy to communicate. Obviously, we have staff. Walker Financial Services is set up to long endure past Tony Walker. No guarantees. There aren't any guarantees with any firm. If any firm tells you, oh yeah, we'll be here long after so-and-so dies, they can't guarantee that. I can tell you we do have a plan in place. We have the staff long after I'm gone. But irregardless, you've got a game plan, something you can use even after the sale, okay? Now let's talk about planning. We have talked about this before. What we provide you is a game plan. Now, financial game plan is a step-by-step process that allows you to know when to use your assets and when not to spend certain assets. Remember, our game plan is to use, protect, and enjoy. Put up the 3 halves of life real quick, Aaron. Somebody came up to Gina after the workshop and they said, that was the best graph I've ever seen. I've been to all these workshops. That was great. And that's why this is so unique. It's a proprietary concept. What we want you to do throughout life is to save while you're in the first half. We want you to enjoy while you can before you get too old. And then as you get into your senior years, relax. So the Worry-Free Retirement is about a game plan to use, protect, and enjoy your money. All right? And then finally, I think this is the key. A gentleman at a workshop in Bowling Green asked this question the other night. He said, Tony, if I were to visit the bank, I don't know why I use the bank, they have trust departments, I guess, or whatever, but if I were to visit the bank and ask them what they would say about you and how they're different, what do you think they'd say? And I'd say, I don't know. I don't really know what they do. I mean, until I see a game plan, I can't respond to that. All I can do is tell you what we do. I know what we do. I'm not sure what other people do. That's not my business to know how they do things. What I've worked on over 33 years as a bedside manner, a wealth of experience, meeting with thousands and thousands of people, and that's where I created something called proprietary. Now let's go full screen. This is kind of interesting. Let's define proprietary real quick. Aaron, if you can put up this quick definition. It simply says the following. Proprietary means that the person that owns or holds exclusive right to something. So proprietary means the person that holds or owns an exclusive right to something. So the Worry-Free Retirement name, mailbox money, that's trademarked. Worry-Free Retirement is trademarked. Helping savers worry less about money is trademarked. The 3 halves of life, we're working on that, is trademarked. The software I spent out of my own pocket, literally into the 6 figures, folks, for this software is proprietary. It cannot be copied. Now, why did I create it that way, and why did I put so much expense into having things trademarked and copywritten? Because so many people copy what you do. That's what's happened over the years. I've had to deal with this time and time again. So the Worry-Free Retirement is a proprietary process. You can only get it through Tony Walker Financial, and there's a reason for that. Now, what is included in anything that's proprietary? The key elements to that are knowledge. So you need to ask a retirement specialist if they're holding themselves out at, what is evidence of your knowledge in this field? They should be able to point to different degrees like we just did, the Chartered Life Underwriter, the College for Financial Planning, studying under people like Ed Slott, LEAP training, studying under Brian Tracy, going through Strategic Coach all those years to learn more about process. So the number of clients. Are you A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau? Are you an investment advisor, registered as a fiduciary, et cetera, et cetera? That's part of the knowledge. The next thing is experience. Again, we just had a great group last night, a lot of great comments afterwards. I had a gentleman that came up and he said, you know what, I heard a guy on TV that's in your field and he was offering a free booklet and CD. I ordered the booklet and CD. I didn't get my booklet and CD, but I got a phone call very quickly with somebody wanting to meet. And he said, I kept asking them for the booklet and CD and they kept saying you don't need it and they kept wanting to meet. Well, what I would tell this gentleman is, number one, you got a product peddler after you is what you got, and you better make sure the person chasing you down has the experience. Just because somebody's authored a book or has produced a CD, anybody can do that. We got a great recording studio here. I can crank out CDs all day long, but that doesn't mean they have the experience. This is an interesting word. I take this from the medical field. It's called bedside manner. Bedside manner. Now, you will know a bedside manner when you're around somebody. How relaxed are they? Are they pushy? Are they asking the right questions? Do they make you feel like they really do care about you more than they care about their money? Now, this is a hard one to define, but you'll know bedside manner when you see it. The old doctors used to always make the house calls and make the rounds. My wife is a nurse for years, and she used to talk about that. She said, Tony, some doctors just had a better bedside manner. The patients enjoyed seeing them. They spent a lot of time with them. Others were dashing in and out and all over the place. It wasn't quite as comforting to the client. Same way with our business. I meet with everybody in person if they request it. Now again, sometimes we have to be a little rushed because we see a lot of people, but I will meet personally with anybody no matter what size. That's another thing there's so much that came up here, Aaron, last night. Somebody said, well, what's the minimum account to work with? Folks, we don't have a minimum account size to work with. So if you're serious about working with somebody like us, if you're serious about retirement planning, all right, doesn't matter, we will help you. For the cost of a car payment, we can get an account set up for you. There are no minimum account sizes to work with Tony Walker Financial. And then finally, I think this is very important because we're getting ready to cover this in the last segment. I say that we have a three-prong approach to you and your money. Three-prong approach. It's based on man, it's based on money, and finally, as we're going to see in the last segment here, it's based on God. So if your financial advisor does not have some sort of spiritual aspect to their life that they can demonstrate to you, how in the world do you know who they're really accountable to? So we're going to talk about that in the next segment. I'm going to go to a very, very simple verse of Scripture, really interesting, and we're going to examine the life of David, the psalmist David. And I think what we're going to see is a man after God's own heart doesn't necessarily have to be David. It can be you and me. But first, I got to get me a cup of coffee. I'll be right back.
I've worked hard all my life, and I've saved a lot of money in my 401k. And now that I'm getting close to retirement, I really don't know what to do with it.
Sound like your situation? I'm Tony Walker, and for the past 30 years, I've helped thousands of people worry less about money, and I'd like to help you too.
Don't leave your future to chance. Get a game plan now with one of the most experienced and trusted names in the business. Log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com.
Did you realize that Wall Street and your advisor could be making hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a year to manage your money? There's no reason to remain in the dark about fees. Take advantage of our free fee analysis today and learn more about our new investment management platform using Charles Schwab as our custodian. To learn more or to find out what the fees are on your investments, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. That's TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Oh yeah, a good cup of coffee. Welcome back to the Worry-Free Retirement. We're covering a verse of Scripture. We've just got a few minutes here, and this is really interesting. It's actually taking from August 20th, that was my wife's anniversary now that we just celebrated, out of the morning devotional of Charles Spurgeon. So August 20th has this simple verse. It simply says, 2 Samuel 23:1, Israel's singer of songs. Israel's singer of songs. And what Spurgeon does so well in this verse is he goes on to talk about the psalmist David, all of the different trials and tribulations, all of the triumphs that he had, all of the things that David had accomplished in his walk with the Lord. But he goes on down, and you think about this man David, who was on one extreme or the other all the time. He was either being held in high esteem or he was at the depths of depths. So he felt everything that we've ever felt. Keep that in mind. Isn't that reassuring when you think about the Bible? The reason I like to read the Bible so much is it's such an encouragement to me. A lot of people say, well, I get depressed, Tony, Revelations and all these people having problems, and there wasn't a sane family in the bunch the way I see it. Well, especially if you're a follower of Jesus Christ, it's full of encouragement because God is so gracious in sharing with us all of these esteemed people and understanding that they had struggles just like we do. But what is interesting, let's put this full screen. This entire section I want to share with you is really, really interesting, and it's going to dovetail into our last segment when I was on the whiteboard. Listen to what Spurgeon says of this. He says, David, he was an able master of the human heart because he had been tutored in the best of all schools, the school of heartfelt personal experience. And I have to say amen to that. And I feel so grateful that I've been able to accomplish many of the things we've accomplished because of the staff, because of the 33 years in this business, and because of the heartfelt experiences that I've been able to go through with my clients and prospective clients. And I would like to go through this experience with you. Do me a favor, why don't you go to TonyWalkerFinancial.com. Maybe you're looking for an advisor, maybe you recently retired, maybe you got money languishing in the bank and you're just looking for somebody you can sit down with that has a good bedside manner and will just listen to you. Listen to your needs and wants, your family issues, try to reduce taxes and fees, would be happy to sit down in person. I'm going to emphasize that again because people think they got to go to workshops and all that. You can bypass all that, folks. If you want to meet with me in person, just log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com, click on that Let's Get Started button. And oh, by the way, don't forget to order our newest booklet, Mailbox Money for Life, and we'll mail that to you absolutely free at no cost or obligation. Well, I hope you've enjoyed today's show. I know I've enjoyed being with you. You've been watching the Worry-Free Retirement, and we'll see you next week. But you remember in the meantime, if all else fails, you remember to be worry-free. Make it a good day.
Thank you for watching the Worry-Free Retirement with Tony Walker. If you need a safe and simple game plan for your retirement, log on to TonyWalkerFinancial.com and schedule a free, no-obligation meeting with Tony.